Good morning. Welcome back to the podcast, to the Solution Finders. We had a little bit of a break for the holidays, for the summer, and now we're back. And in today's episode, I would like to talk about love. I will start with talking about things I read recently that I really liked. I read Alice Osman's Heartstopper, that is a graphic novel. You can see here. Here you go. And yeah, you can see inside it's graphic novel. I've been seeing Heartstopper in the shops for years. I think it's been out for probably about 5 years, and I was intrigued by the covers, but was just recently I found it in my local library. This is from the library, and I read it all. I read it very fast, and I really liked it. And then I found out that there's a series on Netflix, so I watched the series, and I seen interviews with Alice Osman, who wrote it and did all the drawings. And I found out she wrote books as well. This is the last book I read. It's called Loveless. And yeah, these are kind of category teen novels, but for me, lots of literature for teenagers and children is for adults as well. Or it's myself inside. I'm still a little bit of a teenager or a child. I do enjoy this kind of books very much. I read recently the Neverending Story again, and it was all another level of understanding after I read it when I was probably around 11, and I read it more than once at that time. That book is kind of philosophical. There's so much. There's so many messages about life, about the hero's journey, and yeah. So if you didn't read it because the Neverending Story is a fantastic book. There are movies, but they don't scratch. They scratch just the surface of the book. It's really a lot more in the book. And every time you read it, you're a different person, so you see different things in the book. Heartstopper for me was really nice to read because I think it gives a very good message to people, especially the fact that it's in these forms that are popular with young people, form of a graphic novel, like a comic, or a TV series. Actually, the TV series is very, very successful. And there will be a movie that was just filmed this summer to end all the story. And there will be a 6th volume. So this is volume 5. So there's 5 volumes out. And actually here in the back, there's the other covers. And volume 6 will be out soon. And there will be a movie with the same story as volume 6. So to finish all. And there are, I think, 3 series out on Netflix. There's a series, and they are fantastic, and it's nice because some things changed between the series and the book. I think in the series there's characters that are not in the graphic novels, so there's a little bit more. And a great thing is that Alice Osman participated in the writing and in the directing, overseeing the series as well. So it's really connected, is really consistent, because the creator of the graphic novel works on the series as well. That's fantastic. And she's a young woman from Kent, and I live in Kent. So Heartstopper, why do I love it? Because it's a love story between two boys who are in high school, in a secondary school here in England. So they meet in school, and it's very modern in the sense that it's a modern love story, because it explore, let's say, a gay relationship, but not only that, because I think it's really universal about love. It explores something that is joyous, that is a healthy relationship, and if you watch lots of romantic movies out there or series, there's not much of a healthy relationships that are shown. Even like the romantic comedies, or the romantic movies, they are so much of relationships that are not healthy. Like, for example, we can think about one of the stereotypes of romantic movies, for example, is really looking forward to the wedding. So it's like all in center, the center of all the story is to have a wedding. But like, if you really look into it, a wedding is just kind of like a party you have, and it's like for the start of a relationship, or of a new chapter for a couple where they live together, they decide, in a sense, a contract to be together forever, or for a long time. But actually, a lot is in the center is just in the wedding, just in actually the dream for lots of women, especially, is to have this big party, but it's just a party in the end. And then a lot of these movies, there's things that go very wrong just around that as well. And the main thing should be the relationship. And that's what it's wonderful in Heartstopper, because it shows how healthy the relationship between these boys, that even though they are so young, it's really, really healthy, and it's really, and they are sincere and true to themselves, to each other. They communicate, and for example, one thing I wrote that was very nice is that really, like, one of the boys talks with his mom, and he comes out to his mom, and he says, I have a relationship with this boy. And and I think even before that, before coming out, his mom realizes that something is different between him and this boy, and he says, he's very different than your other friends, isn't he? You seem much more yourself around him. You seem much more yourself around him. And for me, that's really probably the core of love, in a sense. That when there is love, we can be ourselves around the other person. And then love can have many forms. It can be friendship, it can be a love for a mom for her children, a child for his or her parents, and So there's many forms of love. Doesn't have to be romantic. There's platonic love as well, and I think that's one of the core things, as being feeling free, feeling safe enough to be yourself around that other person. So I think that's great to see this in a series, and that young people can see this kind of messages, and we probably need more. And that's why some of the older stories, older romantic movies, for me, don't work anymore, in a sense that I can see now that lots of the dynamic, the thing that happen in love movies, for example, are from a place of fear, are from a place of, let's say, from the programming of society, of going to marry because I want a big wedding. That shouldn't be a reason to marry. You want to marry a person because you want to consolidate your relationship with that person. Normally, it should be that should be the norm, not the showing up a big wedding because you want the white dress and 500 people at your wedding. And then it's an empty relationship in which there's no communication, there's no connection and stuff like that. So yeah, I really love that thing about Heartstopper, where really so this relationship enhances these two people. They are more of themselves. They inspire each other, and they and then another thing that was from Loveless, a quote from Loveless that I really liked. I wrote it down. Is one of the protagonists is called Jason, and actually Jason, I think, is this guy here with the brown top. He says, "I think the perfect marriage would be made up of two people who can sit in comfortable silence with each other for extended periods of time." So that's another thing, like being comfortable in silence with another person. We often are not. We often think we have to perform in some way when we are in the presence of someone else, and finding someone we are comfortable to be in silence with, I think it's a big thing, and it's a precious thing, because often we have this thing of wanting to perform for the other, wanting to be what they expect from me, from us. And another thing I wrote, and actually I found it because yesterday I was looking into my diaries, and I have like loads of notebooks. I write, and I've been writing pretty consistently for many years, but I think I really started writing more almost every day after having my children. So then the last 10 years or less. So in one of these notebooks I found, and I put it on my Instagram yesterday, I found one of my ninja stars, and I wrote on top of it, "You have permission to be yourself." So I think love is really being yourself around other people. Like, being in love with someone else, being comfortable being yourself, being comfortable being in silence without the pressure to perform, without the pressure to be that person you think they want you to be, they expect you to be. I have been in that situation many times, in which, and I think that's like a survival mechanism that comes from when I was a child, of being people pleasing in the sense of thinking that actually is not even thinking, it's just kind of like instinctive behavior of just do as the person wants me to do, or I think what I perceive that the person wants me to do, and putting the other person first. So, for example, and this comes from the behaviors I've seen around me, I think, and that's why seeing something like Heartstopper is so important, because it shows you what a healthy relationship should be. And the more we grow up with seeing the healthy relationships around us, that can be in our home, it can be on TV, it can be on Netflix, it can be on YouTube videos. Now it's not TV anymore, it's streaming, it's YouTube, it's TikTok, etc., social media. The more we see the truth, the things that feels good, and we realize what is it that feels good and what is it that doesn't feel good, the more the young will understand earlier, okay, this is not the kind of relationship or friendship I want. And it all begins to loving ourselves, and like always, and really understand that we are worthy of being treated right, being treated, and also treating other people right, treating people well. And so yeah, Heartstopper, I think, is a wonderful story. If you didn't see it, go and watch it or read the graphic novel. It's really nice, and I love that it's against the stereotypes, because for example, so that's Charlie, the protagonist, who starts to play rugby, because it's Charlie and Nick. Nick plays rugby in the team, and then Charlie starts to play rugby as well, but it's not really like he's a little bit skinny, and it's not really like, it doesn't feel like the rugby player is his own. And his coach, who is a woman, says it's all about confidence. And Charlie says, well, it's hard to be confident when they all see me as a stereotypical gay boy who can't do sports. And the coach says, a lot of gay people are good in sports, Charlie. Are good at sports, Charlie. And so yeah, it's kind of against the stereotypes. And actually, the other thing is like everybody think that Nick is straight, but actually is bisexual, and is with Charlie, and little by little he tells everyone that they are together, and all these steps, all these little steps they have, and they have fights as well. They have, it's a normal relationship, but it's very, very pure in a sense. It's very, there's communication, there's um, they are true to each other, and they really enjoy to be together, and they show it to each other. So it's really refreshing to see, and even their problems, they talk about it, and they really want to help each other, um, and that's what love is. So it's really, I think it's a really beautiful example and thing to look at for kids. A thing that comes to mind is, and actually there is a, not in the graphic novel, but in the series, They Go to the Prom. And prom is something that, for example, personally, that didn't exist in Italy. I don't know now, because there's lots of influence from, especially American movies in Italy, from the United States, that comes from after Second World War, especially after the war. And so the prom is something that I've always watched in movies, I've always seen in movies, as an American thing now from United States. Here in the UK, they started a few years ago to do it as well. And you can see it in the Heartstopper series. And it's something that, for me, it's part of the program, in the sense that it's like something that someone, society, let's say, imposed to teenagers, saying, okay, around, I don't know, 16 years old, you're going to have this party where you have to spend lots of money, you have to have nice dresses, you have to act like adults who are in a couple, like to go to a ball, you have to dance, and at that age, it's teenagers, it's people who are starting to kind of, they are transitioning from being children to being adults, and some of them are not ready for this stuff at all. So it's like an imposition of this thing of going to a couple, going to a relationship, that actually many people then, maybe they married the person they went to prom with and stuff like that. But we could ask ourselves, were they ready? Were they ready for a relationship at 16, or a relationship that lasts a life? Or I think there should be more freedom, in the sense of finding ourselves first, and that we will find the right person. Probably something like that. Because, and not saying, okay, at 16, I'm going to have this nice party, and it's going to have, I don't know, I'm going to have my first kiss on that evening with a nice dress, with a nice person, and then we will marry and live happily forever after. That maybe is not going to work like that. And I guess it's we have to discover what we really want, and understand if our behaviors are comes from survival, or from fear, or from love. A lot of the things we are shown in movies can be from fear. Like, for example, the love at first sight thing. It's kind of like we should recognize, and sometimes it really takes trial and error to recognize if a person makes us jump, makes heart race and things like that. But is it from fear? Is it from love? Is it from is it a stress response or is it excitement? Is it stress or is it excitement? Because at the end, for me personally, I think that lots of because of the relationships I was exposed to, there was lots of stress on them. Subconsciously, my internal program was to look for that stress in my relationships as well. So consciously not, consciously I wanted different things, but then the subconscious, when we are not aware, that's what drives us. But then when we when we really recognize when we are well, when and what make us feel well. So actually, what I know what I want in a relationship now. Like I want to feel safe. I want to feel calm. I want to feel myself, that I can be myself around. These are the people who I share something, some time with, some connection with. That I can be myself. That I don't have. But one thing I had with a few people in my life was that I had to work on eggshells around them. I had to be always scanning their energy and their behavior and things like that. And it was something that came from someone in my childhood. But I did have people where I was completely myself around as well, or at least in a big part. Like for example, my mom, my aunt. That was the persons that were more like home in a sense, because I was more of myself with them, was relaxing with them. So yeah, now I understand that that's my people, and my children are the same. And then with children, the thing is that like, the love for them is unconditional. It's like I just love them, and giving birth was a revelation of that, because it's really like the moment of giving birth. It's really, there's pain, there's physical pain, but then there's this baby that comes out and looks at me, and I'm like, oh my God, I just feel in love, and the pain is gone. And yeah, that's kind of the ultimate kind of love. And it's like, I just love this person. They can do whatever. They can do a big tantrum, but I love them anyway. They can do something naughty, but I love them anyway. And Loveless, it's interesting because the title is Loveless, so no love without love, but actually it's a lot about love, and it's a lot about friendship, because it talks about the concept of asexuality, aromanticism, and it's something that I'm discovering about. I didn't really know about it before, and I like that books like this explain this, and it's something that we see quite a lot around us at the moment, and it can be when we come from kind of, I don't know, older generation, where there was just like, when you fill up those forms, now we have so many choices when we fill up forms online. It's like, what is your sexuality? What is your gender? And we have more choices that we used to have. And And so this book talks about practically a sexuality that is not straight, that is like the opposite sex, or gay, I like the same sex. It's like I don't like anybody. Asexual, or I think asexual is like I'm not attracted to anybody, and aromantic, I don't want to have a relationship with anybody, any gender. And it's interesting to see this. And actually, my oldest son is 11 now, and I do ask myself sometimes, like, how can I talk about what happens, like, with when my son is a teenager. So in a sense, it's kind of a research for me to see how can I talk about topics with him and explore all this kind of new concepts that, well, they're not new, but it's like there are more out there that were in the future. And so Loveless, it's like this person who finds out that they're not interested in having relationships or having romantic relationships, and but at the same time they understand that they do have lots of love in their life. They have love, especially in this case with friendship, and so kind of lots of platonic love, but it can be way deeper than a relationship often, because there is the program from the outside of saying, for example, in this case, this is a girl who didn't kiss anybody before 18 years old. The program was saying you have to have your first kiss in your teen years, so 18 years old. It's good to stop giving these rules, because like they don't mean, they have no meaning for everybody. We are all different. Everybody has different experiences in their own life. For me personally, yeah, I think my first kiss was at 18, and personally, my mom had me at 17, so I was pretty scared to go to be in the same situation, to be a teenage mom. I didn't wanted that, so I was like, in a sense, waiting. I was scared of having a kiss or something before a certain age, before that I could handle. But anyway, the drive, the desire to have children of my own came in my 30s, not before that. So yeah. So yeah, I thought that for my mom was kind of an accident, but a happy accident in a sense, because I think it was what meant for her in her life, even if it was probably hard to be so young with a child. And I hope these reflections can start a conversation. So if you want to comment, if you want to write to me, and it would be nice to continue the conversation. I would love to have Alice Osman on the podcast, have a conversation with her. And I watched some of the interviews she gave, and I really love the way she talks and everything. And I really love how she studied, I think, English literature, but then she followed passion, and she's very successful with it, writing and drawing, and putting out her stories for the world. And her other books are very nice as well. I read Radio Silence here. Radio Silence, and I Was Born for This. And actually, I think I have only one left, that is Solitaire. I'm going to read it soon. And yeah, I will see you next time, and have a lovely day. Bye bye. And I would like to present you this artwork that is 9. So this is my featured artwork for the day. I changed scenery, lots of changes this summer. So at the moment, I think I'm going to feature a different artwork in every episode. So this is 9, and I put some lighting on the from the bottom to show how this tetrahedron cast a shadow, and so you can play with the lighting and have different effects with the shadows. Something that I want to explore more with my art. Bye bye.